So in this video, we are doing, if you haven't noticed by title, kangaroo pepper steak meat pies. And you might be wondering, why are you doing kangaroo meat and meat pies? A friend told me that they mainly have kangaroo meat as their sort of protein in their meat that they like to use. And they use it for the minced stuff for spaghetti bolognese. It makes really good bolognese, which I'm going to try out at some point. And stroganoff in a casserole. And the reason why I thought meat pies would be a good thing is that kangaroo meat is quite tough, and so you want to use that toughness in a similar style of the tough beef cuts that there is, so rumps and stuff like that. And slow cooking it seems like a perfect option to do for these for kangaroo meat. And kangaroo meat is Australian, but another thing that's quite Australian is meat pies. So apparently a lot of the world, they don't have meat pies or eat meat pies like we do. Most of their pies are desserts and that sort of aspect. I know that the British and South Africa and Australia and New Zealand probably are probably the biggest proponents of meat pies, and it's a core Australian thing here. So I thought, you know what, that sounds pretty Australian, doing kangaroo meat in meat pies, and I'm doing a pepper steak version because I love pepper steak pie. And kangaroo meat is also better for the environment and better ecologically than beef and other meat products, simply because kangaroo is not farmed. All kangaroo meat is culled, so there's no farming aspect. Kangaroos are native to Australia, which means that they have no real impact, no extra impact to the environment like farming does. Farming, you need to clear land for grazing and that sort of thing. But kangaroos, they are from this land, so you don't need to do any extra bits of stuff there. Yeah, so there's that environmental impact, there's culling, so no extra farming, and it's highly nutritious from the sources I've come. So it's highly nutritious in a lot of aspects. So it's just an all-round kind of great meat to use. Now there is some possible downsides because kangaroos are not farmed, they're kind of culled, because I guess we have a lot of them here. There is a gamey taste to it, which if you have hunted meats before, like those kind of more exotic style meats than the farmed meats, some of them do have a bit of a gamey taste to it. But I don't mind that too much, and it just adds an extra flavor to it. And kangaroo meat is also quite tough, which can not lend itself very well to like a steak and stuff like that. Although there is probably ways we can make it a lot more tender, and I might be playing around with like that. But yeah, so it does have a few aspects like that, which is different than beef. But beef does have a lot of different cuts. There's like tender cuts and there's tough cuts. So those are the reasons why I'm going to be using kangaroo meat. Pretty good sustainably, nutritiously, that. And we're using it in a meat pie because we're going to be slow cooking it. So that should make it a lot more tender. And maybe with the pepper steak and the gravy, maybe the gamey flavor doesn't come through as much. I guess we'll have to find that out. But yeah, so let's get started with making some of the filling. All right, let's get started with making these pies. So first thing we're going to do is the prep work, obviously. There's not too much we have to do really. We just have to dice up some onions. The kangaroo meat's already diced for the pies, so we don't have to do anything there. So the main thing we have to do at this point is dice some onions. Alright, found the onions. Alright, let's get a chopping board. And hopefully there is no audio problems in this video like there was last video. I don't know what causes it. I know my phone, which I'm using as a display, the camera, so I can see what I'm showing you guys. Oh yeah, hopefully it's close to the microphone, and I think there might be some electromagnetic interference between the two. But that's just a guess. If anyone else knows why, let me know. 2 onions, look at that, look at that. All right, there we go. We have our onion all diced up, and I'm only just crying a little bit. So, you know, it's a little bit of a success there. All right, and the next things we have to prepare is we're gonna make a seasoned flour just to coat all the diced kangaroo, and then we are going to move on with the browning. Here is our diced kangaroo, already diced, so I don't have to do any extra work there. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do is grab half a cup of flour. There we go. Then a tablespoon of ground white pepper. Oh no! Oh no, I spilled all the ground pepper everywhere. Tablespoon of ground black pepper. That's probably close enough. And then half a tablespoon or half a tablespoon of ground pepper, of cracked pepper, but I'll just do this for a little while. Of course that's gonna happen. Chopsticks. Give it a big old mix around. Actually, a fork would probably be a bit better. All right, that looks pretty well mixed. Let's add in kangaroo meat. And now we just give this a mix around and make sure it's all nice and flavored and seasoned and floured. All right, that's pretty good. There's some which are a bit more floured than others, but most of them are quite floured. Next step is to brown the meat. Okay, so we have it up at quite high heat. The searing process. Or to warm up a little. Add in about half if your pan is big enough for that. Bad boy. With my wok spatula. That'll be good. Transfer to a bowl. Alright, we'll try and do the rest in one go. Let's try and saute the onions in my foodie. So we have a saute option here. Okay, so yeah, we're just sauteing it in on high for the onions, and we'll just see how that goes. I haven't done this before. All right, here you can see it's all nice and sizzling, and here's our browned stuff. We'll just add that in, I think. All right, there's some garlic. All right, I think we'll turn on to the slow cooker function now because I think we've sauteed enough. Yeah, we'll just start with 10 minutes on high. Basically, we're just going to get it to a boiling while we add in the rest of the stuff. We're going to add in some stock to it now. It says use beef stock, but I'm using the chicken stock like we made in the last video. You can go check that out. It says 750 mils. I guess just use any stock you have on hand. Chicken stock's pretty neutral, I think. Not as neutral as vegetable, but other, so we'll just cover it. Oh, there we go. Then we'll add in a tablespoon of Worcestershire. Give it a bit of a mix around. It smells interesting with the chicken stock I've used. We'll see how it ends up. Then we'll add in a tablespoon of fresh thyme. I'm presuming that's what the recipe calls for. I also have dried thyme, but you know, fresh often gives us the most flavor. So we'll see how that goes. Not very finely chopped, so that might come back to bite us when we are eating the pie. But I'm the only person that's eating, so I can live with that. And you also add in more pepper mixtures. This is a tablespoon of white ground pepper, a tablespoon of black ground pepper, 3 tablespoons of black peppercorns. I don't have 2 tablespoons yet. So I've got 1 tablespoon of Szechuan pepper, and I'm gonna try and I'll add some more whole peppercorns as well into it. And then also I have cracked pepper in here. So just add that in. Give it a mix around, turn on to saute mode, just so I can bring it to a boil a bit quicker, and then I'll put it back to the slow cook method. Okay, so I managed to pop open this old black peppercorn grinder that I couldn't use anymore because it wouldn't grind anything. So we'll just use this for the whole peppercorns. When there's a will, there's a way. And since I like it extra peppery, I'll just add in an extra half. Oh, an extra for 1, there we go. Ooh, I am so excited for this. Okay, I think this is sufficiently bubbling and boiling. So let's mix around, and then we are gonna chuck it on slow. We're gonna chuck it on low, and let's do high, because I'm not really sure. And the minimum we can go is 4 hours, so. And we'll just cover it with the lid. And then we'll just let that go. And periodically I will check on it, stir it, and do all that business. Maybe switch it down to the low if I think it's a bit too rough. But yeah, we just leave it for 2 to 3 hours, and we'll see you after that. All right, it's been cooking for, yeah, well over 3 hours now. Look at that. Look at that. Kind of thick, but kind of liquidy, kind of nice, I hope. Alright, let's give it a little taste test to see how tender it is. Because the thing with slow cooking is we wanted it to be nice and tender. It's not as peppery as I thought it would be though. But that is nice and tender. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of pepper. There is pepper. Oh, that's nice actually. That is nice. Wow, okay. I'm pretty happy with that. You get that kangaroo flavor. It's the slow cooking. Kangaroo is often very tough, so the slow cooking has tenderized a little bit. And just to add a bit of extra filling and flavor, I've got some mushrooms here. And we are just gonna turn this off. And we're gonna add this in, mix it all around and let it cool down. And we're gonna let it stay in the fridge overnight. That should make it more tender. And also I don't have really the time today. Also this should hopefully solidify things a little bit easier, so it might be a bit easier to pack as well. So yeah, we'll just let it cool down, and the mushrooms should absorb a bit of the flavor as well, so this should be quite nice. So kangaroo pepper steak pie, or kangaroo mushroom pepper steak pie, and I'm quite excited for how this is going to turn out. I am so excited for tomorrow to have some of these pies, because that was good. At the first bite it wasn't like, oh okay, there's not too much pepper, but the second bite's like, yeah, this is the pepper steak flavor that I love. Welcome to day 2. We've left this cool and cool off over the night in the fridge, and we have a couple of pastry sheets here just to start us off with. I'm sure that I will actually be needing another sheet or 2 for all this mix, but let's start making our first one, shall we? So yeah, we're just gonna give it our best go. So we got shortcut on the bottom and puff on the top. And if you can't hear it, I'm heating the preheating the oven right now. So the idea is we need to cut it around 1 centimeter bigger than the base, and it looks like I won't be able to fit too many. So they're gonna be not super even. So it's not exactly a centimeter. Actually, it's probably a centimeter. This looks too big, to be honest. Maybe around perfect. So that's not too bad. Okay, so it's around that size. And then we just sort of put it in the center and press it down a little bit. And let's grab a spoon. Okay, we're just going to take this out for now, because I'm going to add some butter to the bottom to make it a little bit easier. Actually, I'll just leave it this one, and the rest of them we will add butter. So just to make it a little bit easier to get out. And then we just fill this bad boy with some of our pie filling. Fill it to the brim so it's level up the top. Yeah, it looks pretty good there. Oh man, I'm just so excited for this. And here we have our puff. So you can do it any way you want. I like to have like puff on the top, short crust on the bottom. I find that works nice. And I used to, at my parents' place, they had like an actual pie maker machine. And it comes with a little circle thing which has both sides. It has the bottom and the top, so you can easily make pies from the pastry sheets without having to kind of work out the sizings. Yeah, these are big pies. And boom, there we go. So then we just kind of push it down a little bit. And we'll just put this on a tray for now. I'll get them all ready to rock and roll. So yeah, I'll just make the rest of these pies, as many as I can, and I'll probably see a bit. Oh, one thing I forgot is to add crimpings to. Alright, we've made 4 pies. I was thinking about doing more. Obviously 4 fits as many on this tray, and also I don't think my freezer will have enough space if I make all the pies. So with the leftover filling, I'll just put that into a bag and I'll freeze that, and then I can use that whenever I want to make more pies. But yeah, so next up we've got our oven at 180 roughly, as best I can get it, and then we're just going to do an egg wash. Actually, I'll use my fingers, I think. We'll just egg wash it. Now I was meant to egg wash between the 2 different pastries as well, but I didn't do that, so we're just gonna have to be okay with that. So we got egg wash now. Just make a little steam escape hole Now a lot of pies I've seen have a little kind of divot like that, so we'll just do the same. There we go, little kind of scaples. Let's bring a nice little, look at that. So let's get these pies in the oven. So we're gonna do 15 minutes and then we're gonna rotate them around. That's what it says in the recipe, and it's probably a good idea because ovens are generally quite notorious for not having a very even heat distribution. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put it in here for 15 minutes, rotate around. In 30 minutes we'll have some cooked pies. And there we go. They're the pies. They're the pies. We have cooked it for 30 minutes now, so let's bring it out. Let's see. I reckon we still gotta cook it a bit, and there's a bit of spillage. So I reckon maybe another 5 or 10 minutes, just to get this a bit more brown, a bit more cooked. But they're looking interesting. A bit of an explosion happened though, so that's interesting. But we're definitely getting there. Alright, I'll let it cook for a little bit while longer to get a bit more browning. And I think this is much better now. That doesn't look too shabby. A lot of spillage though, a lot of spillaging around. That might be because I didn't crimp it hard enough, or the egg wash actually does help it stick together and keep it together. Or I needed more of a slit for the steam so it didn't explode. Anywho, we'll let this cool down for about 15 minutes and then we'll try and take out the pies from the molds. Then we'll have a taste test, and that's what I'm excited about. All right, we have our pies that have cooled down. Let's see how hard it is to get out. Well, that was easy. Okay, so cooling down does help. So one of these does not have butter, and we'll see how, maybe it's this one? Seems like it didn't affect it too much. All right, we have our pies. Let's inspect one of them, shall we? Ooh, look at that. Look at that, kind of soft on the bottom, but definitely cooked. They smell really good as well. Let's have this pie. Give this a little taste, shall we? Look at that. Look how beautiful that looks. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of explosion happening this side, but it's okay. Give it a taste. Oh. Get a bit more of the meat. Wow, okay. So we get the texture from the mushrooms. We get that pepper steak flavor. It is good. This is the pepper steak flavor I want, like the peppery. The kangaroo is tender. Kangaroo is usually very tough. It is, oh, this is so good. This is probably one of the best things I've made in a long time. And kangaroo does have that sort of gamey flavor, but you can almost not really taste that gamey flavor, which can be a good thing or a bad thing if you like the gamey flavor. If you don't, it doesn't come through too much. The pepperiness of it really kind of masks any of that sort of, gamey flavor. But the meat is still tender. It is very tender. It's a lot tender than yesterday, that's for sure. Let's have a bit of tomato sauce with it. You know, it can't be a true Australian meat pie without a bit of tomato sauce, right? I mean, oh, look at that. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? Look at that. Look at that. This is the most Australian, or one of the most Australian meals you could probably get. Like, what could be more Australian than kangaroo meat pies? And then I like pepper steak, so I've been doing kangaroo pepper steak pies, but oh. There is some definitely chewy bits of the meat, but I think that just lends to it as well. Oh, so good. So good. I'm so happy with how these turned out. So there we have kangaroo pepper steak meat pies. It is a more sustainable, if you don't want to eat as much meat, but you still want to have some meat and you want to make your own pies, your own meat pies, so you know all the ingredients, it's just such an Australian thing to eat. And it's a good way to prepare kangaroo so it's not that tough and it's not gamey. So this actually turned out a lot better than I expected. It turned out basically exactly how I wanted it to turn out, which is kind of surprising for me to do. And I just substituted kangaroo in this beef recipe. So that's amazing. So this is something I am going to be having a lot more of. I mean, I got tons of the filling to use. 10 out of 10 recipe. I am going to be putting this down in the books as a must-have. Anyway, thank you all for watching this video. If you like any of the other videos, if you want to see more cooking videos, go check out the rest of my channel. Lots of cooking, interesting things there. And yeah, I'll see you for the next video next week. Peace.